Welcome back. My name is Chris, and in this video, we're going to be talking about NetSuite certifications. Now, just a couple months ago, NetSuite revamped their entire certifications program, introducing new certs, as well as moving the system off of the NetSuite website over to the Oracle MyLearn website. So we're going to be taking a look at all of that, how to sign up for the exams, what the exam format is like, everything you could possibly want to know about the certifications in NetSuite. And also, if you already were somewhat familiar with how the certifications used to be, I'll introduce you to some of the changes that have been made. And if you're coming into this fresh with no prior concept of what things used to be like, you can probably skip the very beginning of this video and go straight into the new, or I should say the current setup for certifications moving forward. So with all of that in mind, let's get straight into it, starting with a summary look at how certifications used to be. So let's jump into a graphic now. All right, so I'm going to walk through this pretty rapidly because most of you are probably already familiar with it, but the certifications used to be organized this way. Think about it in three groups. So first off, we had the functional grouping, and this was Suite Foundation at the bottom, which is the most commonly taken certification by far, then the administrator, then the ERP consultant. So that was the functional certifications. Then you had the technical certifications, and that was actually two exams. So we had the app developer exam and then the web services developer exam. And if you took and passed both of those and took the Suite Foundation exam, with all three of those combined, you were actually awarded an additional cert called the Suite Cloud Developer Cert. So that is the technical side of things. And then there was a couple additional certifications, financial user and suite analytics. Obviously, financial user was really diving into the accounting side of things. And then suite analytics was ironically not covering suite analytics whatsoever. It was specifically focusing on dashboards, reports, and save searches. So that was all in that exam. And this is the old setup. Three major categories and a total of 7 exams that you can take, 8 certifications in total. So let's now compare this to what we now have with the new certification system. And we're going to switch over to a new graphic. The way they've structured this is very different. Instead of having them kind of organized by process area, they now have a tier system where, and we'll start off at the top, the first level is called Associate, and it is free. And there's really just 3 certifications that are included at that level. So we have BI, which is Business Intelligence and Reporting Associate exam, the Financial Associate, and the AI Foundations Associate. Now, each one of these boxes is its own exam, and I'm making them blue for now. Blue indicates that it is a new exam that did not exist prior. As we go into the lower levels, you're going to start seeing yellow boxes, which are carryovers from the old system. Okay, so we have that associate level. They're free, they're easy exams, they tend to be a bit shorter. Then we move down into what you could consider the more intermediate level, which is called the specialist tier. And moving from left to right, we have the BI and reporting specialist, the financial planning and analysis specialist, AP or accounts payable and accounts receivable specialists. So those are the 4 new ones at this tier. And then we also have the Suite Foundation specialist, which is really just a copy over from what we priorly had. So, and I've tried to organize these on the tier so that you can kind of see there's certain exams that have an easy level at associate, an intermediate, and a professional. So I've tried to group them in somewhat of a vertical alignment. And that kind of brings us down to the professional level. So from a professional standpoint, that is obviously the most expert level. The exams cost $245 to take. And then moving from left to right, again, we have a BI and Save Searches professional. We have a financial planning and analysis professional, accounting professional, and then app developer, web services developer, administrator, and ERP consultant. And again, you should recognize all those. They're yellow. They are the same ones that we had on the prior system. And the only other additional point I want to bring up here is that, and I specifically asked this question with the Oracle NetSuite guys, Are these set up in not just a tier system in terms of what the difficulty is, but also are they paths where do you have to take the associate level for BI and reporting to then be able to take the specialist to then be able to take the professional? And the answer is no. The only instance where you are forced to take a precursor exam to be able to take a more advanced one is what I've drawn in here with Suite Foundation Specialist. That is a requirement or a prerequisite to be able to take the administrator or the ERP consultant professional. That is the only prerequisite required. Everything else, for example, on the accounting side, you could skip all of those associate or specialist exams and go straight to the accounting professional if you wanted to. So that's a look at the new certification system. Now let's go through some frequently asked questions in relation to that system and make sure that we get all these questions answered. So first off, are any certifications and certificates that I've earned previously, are they still valid or have they expired? And the answer is no, they have not expired. Any cert that you already have is absolutely still valid. You can still promote the fact that you have those certifications, even if they are not certifications that you can still get in the present day. The next commonly asked question is in relation to the financial user and the Suite Analytics certifications, which previously existed and obviously are no longer around. So, are they gone forever? Is there an exam in the new system that is really just a renaming of those priorly used exams? The answer is no, and that's not just what Oracle NetSuite's saying. I've also taken some of these exams, and I can tell you firsthand that let's say if you take the accounting professional or the accounts payable specialist, those are completely different exams than the financial user. And it's also true that the financial user exam wasn't just split up into 4 exams. First off, the financial user exam was quite short. If you take any one of those new exams like AP, AR, FP and analysis, or the accounting professional, every single one of those exams is longer than the financial user exam used to be. So the idea that it got split up into a few different exams is ridiculous because they're all larger in the first place. So think about it this way. Those prior certifications, while still valid if you got them, are just no longer ones that you can get newly. They've got new exams to cover much more specific areas of accounting and BI and save searches. So that is another question. And then the third frequently asked question I want to cover is in relation to Suite Foundation, Administrator's Exam, and the ERP Consultant. So obviously those existed previously and they continue to exist on the new system, but students will ask, if I've been preparing for, let's say, Suite Foundation with the old system, is the exam going to be dramatically different now? And the answer is no. Those exams are identical to what they used to be. The format of the exams, the number of questions, the content of those questions is identical. Those have not changed whatsoever. So if you've been prepping for any one of those certifications, or maybe you took your administrator's exam and flunked it, you want to retake it, you're worried that maybe the exam is completely different, it's not. I mean, you will get a different exam when you take it a second time, but in terms of the preparation needed to take and pass those exams, completely the same. Which also brings me to a point relevant to my own courses. As many of you probably know, I used to have prep courses for every single exam aside from the technical ones. So it was 5 in total. Obviously, now that Financial User and Suite Analytics are out, I just have 3 prep courses for Suite Foundation Admin and ERP Consultant, and they're still absolutely relevant to any certifications going forward in this new system. So that is the case. And of course, now that there are all these new certifications, over the next few months, I'll basically be taking each certification at a time and making a prep course for all of the new ones. So don't worry if you're still intending to get all of these certifications and you want to take advantage of those prep courses, I'll be rolling those out over the next several months and probably a year at the max. So that is the basic concept. Those are some of the frequently asked questions. Now I want to actually walk you through how to access Oracle MyLearn, which is where you're going to sign up for, not only sign up for your exams, but also take the courses necessary to prep for these exams, and show you how you would actually sign up for an exam itself. So with that in mind, let's jump into the system. All right, so here we are. I'm on my web browser, and to get to this page, I literally just typed in Oracle MyLearn, and generally the first thing that's going to come up is a logon portal for that. It really brings you to the Oracle website, and then you'll see at the top right, you have the ability to sign in. So that's how I got to this particular page. As with any page, you come in, you provide your username, in other words, your email and password. If you don't have a logon already with Oracle, it's totally fine. Even if you don't work for a company that has NetSuite, you have no affiliation with Oracle up until this point, that's totally fine. You can come down here and create an Oracle account completely for free. There's really no requirement. You just provide the information and create that account. And as you're going to see in a second, when you log in with a free account, which is actually what I'm using right now, you're going to have what's called a free Explorer Pass. So what that means is you're going to have the ability to register for and take exams. You're going to have a lot of the free resources that go along with exams. There's going to be some very limited courses that you can take advantage of. And then when it comes to all the main LCS, what's called LCS, which is Learning Cloud Support, the training that Oracle provides for NetSuite clients, that's going to be on this same portal, but as a free, with one of the Explorer passes, you're not going to have access to any of those courses. They're only provided to clients that have what's called a company pass. So the way that usually works is you work for a company that has purchased NetSuite, and as part of buying that, they've also bought LCS, Learning Cloud Support, and they'll have certain logons for their users. So if you're an employee for one of those companies, you'll be given a company pass logon, you sign in, and then you'll have access to all the LCS courses. So again, I'm not trying to do a video on LCS and the Oracle training. I'm trying to show you the exam side of things. So we're going to stick to that, and that's why I'm signing in with one of these free accounts, because that's most likely what you're going to be dealing with yourself. So with that in mind, let's now log in. We're going to come up here and hit next on our email. Brings us to this page. Let's type in our password. All right. And then we'll hit sign in. All right, we hit that, and then it brings us to our Oracle MyLearn. Now, one immediate tip I should give you is at this point, you can see we're logged in, but if this is your first time creating an account or logging in, what's going to happen is it brings you to this page. You're going to be looking through and go, I don't understand. This is not what I was expecting. The reason is because right up here at the top, it defaults to Oracle University. Now, even though it's Oracle MyLearn is the website, we're not trying to deal with Oracle University, which would be relevant to the Oracle products. We're trying to deal with NetSuite specifically. So we have to change this little globe to be NetSuite. And it's going to say, are you sure you want to leave? Yes, we do. Now, once you switch it to NetSuite for whatever particular computer you're using, you should be fine for future reference. It generally caches that information, so anytime you log in again, it's going to have you in NetSuite and you don't run into that issue. But the first time, I've had plenty of students say, I cannot find out anything related to NetSuite on this website, and that is the reason why. So keep that in mind. Now that we're on the proper Oracle MyLearn for NetSuite, what are we trying to do? We're trying to register for an exam. I'm even going to walk you through most of that process. So there's a lot going on this website, and I'll be completely honest, I've said this before, this website is not very well configured. It can be confusing, it's convoluted, the way they organize it and have the various tabs and fields, I just think it is not easy for generally new users to navigate. So I'm going to try to walk you through in a method that I feel is the easiest to go through. There's often several different ways that you can approach one task, but I'm going to give you an example of how you could do this. So if we're looking for certifications, I would come up here to library, and then over here on the top right, you can see certification. So we'll click on that, and it brings us to this area where we basically have that certification tier system that I just showed you. So you can see Certified Associate, which is that highest free tier, and we've got those 3 exams. So BI and reporting, AI, financial. Down from that, we have the Specialist, which is the mid tier, and there's several. I can also click on the right here and I can see all of them. And then I can scroll down and we can take a look at the Professional. So this would be we can see 3 here, and then there's an additional 3. There's 7 in total. So we've got all those professional level certifications. Now, what I would recommend doing is if you know you're going to be interacting with several certifications, especially even if there's one that you're looking at right now, but you know there might be another 4 that at some point you're going to take, to make it easier on yourself, come down to the bottom right here and click the little heart, which favorites this certification. So for example, ERP consultant, I could favorite that and really favorite anything that I think at some point I might be interested in taking. And then instead of trying to navigate back to this page, which can be tricky if you don't know exactly where to go, you can simply come up here. Let's say you've logged in to your Oracle MyLearn. All you have to do is come up here in the top right, click favorites, and it's going to list every single favorite that you already have available. So this just makes it a little bit easier. Now let's actually pretend, because I'm not actually going to sign up, but let's say we want to take a particular examination. So let's say this financial planning and analysis professional. That's the cert we want. So what we can do is we can come here and click on this. It brings us to this page. There's a lot of basic information about what's included in this exam, what you should have prepared going into it, etc. Scrolling down from that, if we come down here, the way they've organized this is at the top here, what we're seeing really up here is the free resources that come with this exam. So for example, we can come in here, there's a very short kind of prep course, which honestly, as you can see, it's 9 minutes long. It's really not giving you any real information. It is going to include a study guide that gives just some basic outline of the various subjects that will be included on those exam questions. But there's not that much that's helpful here. However, this second one, the one that's labeled practice exam, is also free. And we can see it's covered under the free Explorer Pass. Anything that has that little green bubble, great. That's something that as a free user, you have access to. Any exam comes with practice questions, and you should absolutely take advantage of those. They are incredibly helpful to help you prepare for the exam itself and the kinds of questions you're going to run into. So if we want to come in here and access that, we'd simply click on this tab. We come here. And now it says, it almost looks like it's a video. It's not. We have to click this little button as if we're starting a video. And then it says, okay, great. Do you want to look at that practice exam? Well, obviously we do. So we click view content, and then it pops out basically a PDF, which we can actually download. And if we scroll down, it's going to have all these practice questions, the answers for them, etc. So that's how you can access those practice questions. Now, I should say one thing at this point. I don't have this yet on my website, but on my supertraining.cloud website, where I have not only my courses, I'm going to be adding an entire page of resources. And in there is going to be certification resources. So for every single NetSuite certification, I'm going to include various links and practice questions, study guides, frequently asked questions, some basic tips and tricks for approaching that exam for all of the different exams. So again, this is a new web page I'm going to be adding probably in the next month or two. So maybe by the time you watch this video, if so, I'll have a link for it down in the description below. You can simply click on that, take a look at whatever exam you're interested in, and instead of having to log into Oracle MyLearn, go through various paths to try to get to the practice questions, you can just immediately find the one that you're looking for and download it right there. So if you want an easier approach, that is going to be coming out soon. But for now, let's back out. I'm going to hit back on this, and it brings us back to this financial planning and analysis. This is the overall for this certification. So coming down here, again, we have this free course. We have the practice exam that you can download. And then every other little tile that we see here, these are all courses. Now, by the way, notice none of them that say free Explorer. If you want to access these courses, you have to have a company pass. So if you don't, it's simply off the table. And don't worry, you're not missing much. The way that they organize these, you can see how many they're listed here. There's probably, I don't know, 18 different little courses, and each one has, 17 minutes, 30 minutes, 41 minutes. Those are pretty optimistic numbers, by the way. They tend to be quite a bit longer than that. If you've ever dealt with Oracle MyLearn or LCS, you know these courses are incredibly dry, and the way that the Oracle approaches them is they basically say, okay, if our exam is going to, in any way, maybe there's one question that covers a particular area, we're going to have a course on that, a full course on that particular tool or subject matter. even though there might be literally one question that has anything to do with that subject matter, they're taking the approach of, we're going to teach you everything there is to know about that entire subject. And so every one of these courses is covering some particular subject. So if you count up all these numbers, it's probably maybe a little over 3 hours of individual kind of modules that you have to study up. And that's just for this one exam, FP&A analysis, which is a hyper-specific exam. If you go to take something like the ERP consultant exam, which is incredibly broad, I think they have 35 hours or some huge number of literally just a million little modules that they recommend you take to know everything there is to know about how to prep for the ERP consultant exam. If you've ever done any of my prep courses, you know I take a very different approach. So instead of teaching you about every single little thing you might need to know about the whole system entirely, I'm going to focus in on just those specific topics that you have to know about to be able to answer a significant or relevant amount of questions on the exam itself. In other words, let's prepare to actually pass the exam and be done with it. So that is the basic concept. Again, if you don't have a company pass, you don't have access to any of this stuff anyways. So moving on from that. Now, I've talked about all these different tabs, but what if you actually want to sign up for the exam? To do that, we're going to scroll back down at the bottom here, and the final thing is always going to be the actual exam. Now, in this particular case, we can see we have the exam here. It's a 90-minute exam, and I'll talk about kind of the details about the exams in a second. But over on the right here, we have the ability to register now. It brings you to this point where you can actually start scheduling the exam. So in this particular case, it gives us some basic information at the top, which I might as well talk about at this point. So first off, it's proctored online. Previously, you could take it in person or online. At this point, it's only online. Everyone did it that way anyway. So they basically now just limit it to online. The format for all NetSuite exams is always multiple choice, especially when compared to a lot of the other ERP systems that can get some pretty complicated exams, and the way that they ask questions and you have to answer them. They get quite complicated. When it comes to NetSuite, they keep it ultra simple. It's multiple choice. It's usually 4 options. You choose one. That's it. Then you get to duration, 90 minutes. Now, as I go through and make prep courses for all of the different certifications, you'll see that some of them have slight variations to this, but the majority of them do have this same kind of criteria where you have 90 minutes, 50 or maybe 60 questions, and then the passing score is 65%. That's the basic concept. All right, so at this point, we're going to come down here. It gives us a little bit of an overview, and then what we want to do is we want to come down here and hit schedule your exam. Now for you, the reason I have register now is because it's currently still 2025 while I'm filming this. So there is a coupon program running basically that allows me to take exams for free. Probably by the time you watch this video, it is going to be in 2026. That offer is not going to be available anymore. So what you're going to see here is a buy now button. What it's going to do is you're going to click that. It's going to bring you to a separate web page. You have to put in your payment information, etc. You fill all that in. Once you've purchased the exam, you're then able to come back to what you're going to see now. If I click register now, again, this is assuming you've already gone through and purchased the exam itself. You come in here and it's going to say, great, when do you want to take this exam? What is the time zone you're in? What is the specific date? They usually have an enormous amount of options available to you, so you shouldn't have any problem with that. Now, one thing I want to specify at this point, which is really important, over on the right here, now I'm blurring all this information, but it's going to provide what Oracle NetSuite, Oracle MyLearn, considers your information is, your full name that is shown on your ID. It's very important that the exact name that you have here is the name on your identification. They've made it very clear that if there's a difference with that, they're not going to accept it. So for example, if your full name is Robert on your ID, but in Oracle you logged in with the name Bob, they're going to expect you to tell them, change my name to Robert, have the full proper name so that when you sign in, go through the whole process, it's all acceptable. So with that all in mind, coming down here, I'm not going to walk through each of these steps, but I'll give you a concept of what's entailed in them. So apply your exam attempt. This is where you're going to come in and you're going to make sure that either you've paid, or in this case, I have a coupon, so I'm going to apply that coupon. You may have an instance where you've prepaid for multiple exams. You can buy these exam packages. You can apply one of those. Once that's done, you come down here, you verify. Like I said, you have to make sure that your identification is matching the name that Oracle has for you. Once that's done, and that's really just to prevent fraud, so that you don't have a person that pays somebody else to go take the exam for them. They kind of link up the ID to the actual person. Down from that, we have the confirm the readiness. So they basically go through and they make sure that your computer and everything is set up ready to take the exam. So there's a few different steps that's included as part of that. Off the top of my head, it involves you have to make sure that your browser is up to date and you've cleared the cache for your browser. You're going to have to download a plugin called Proctario, I believe is the name for it. It's actually pretty simple. And again, I've done prep courses for other ERP systems like SAP and Microsoft Dynamics, and even the old NetSuite setup had a much more convoluted system that you had to deal with. So Proctario is actually quite easy. It doesn't require that much from you. It will require that you don't have any other programs open. So if you've got a lot of other browsers or other systems running on your computer, you're gonna have to turn those off. You can't have any virtual private networks open, also known as VPNs. If you've got multiple monitors, you're gonna have to turn them off except for one. You're obviously gonna have to have a webcam, a microphone, just kind of that basic setup. But that's it. It's, again, quite easy to run through and can be done very quickly. In just a matter of minutes, you can have everything appropriately set up. And once that's done, you come down to terms and conditions. You read it, make sure that there's no fraud, you're not going to cheat, etc. You read that, you hit yes, I've read it, and I consent to it. You click schedule the exam, and you're good to go. So at that point, once you've scheduled, you paid, you've gone through the whole thing, what it's going to do is it's going to send you an email, which I'm actually going to jump over to my own email here. So I'm going to blur some of the kind of personal information here, but you can see I have one email listed out here. You're going to get an email just like this. And I'm not going to open up because it has a lot of personal information on it, but when you go on there, it's very straightforward. It's going to have a lot of key information like when you scheduled for, when you're expected to sign in, and at the bottom it's going to have a button say sign into exam. So obviously in your own calendar or clock, whatever you want to do, you should make a note of when that exam is going to be so you don't miss it. And when it's ready, you should come to this email, click on that button. It'll take you straight where you need to go and put you through the necessary steps to just make sure your computer's fully ready to go, sign into the exam, and you're off to the races. Now, in terms of taking the exam, I will have other videos and courses where I'll walk you through the best approach to get through the exam quickly and have the highest likelihood of getting a passing score. Those will be in different videos. So for now, let's assume you've now taken your exam. As soon as you finish and submit it, what's going to happen is it's going to tell you immediately if you've passed or failed, what score you got in terms of did you make it above the 65%. And at that point, you can now log into a different portal called CertView, which allows you to see the certification that you just earned. So let's take a look at that. If we come over, we're going to come back to this page. And we're going to open up a new tab here, and we're going to type in certview.oracle.com. I mean, you can see I already have it there. So put in that thing. Now, you can get to CertView from your Oracle MyLearn logon. It just can be difficult to find, especially if you're not familiar with the site. So if you ever have a doubt, you can just type in certview.oracle.com. If you hit that, it's going to bring you to this page. Now, again, this is a totally different portal than Oracle MyLearn. Why they set it up there, don't ask me. It's not the most sensible thing. But if you're trying to come to this, if you come across an error message, which a lot of students do, I personally ran into the same problem. You got like a 404, can't load the page. More likely than not, you either need to use a different browser or you need to clear the cache and cookies on your current browser. There's something with that that's blocking you from actually getting to Oracle CertView. But assuming you can get to this page, you have to come down here to Oracle CertView. And just a quick disclaimer, I mentioned that you have to make sure your name is correct and is matching your ID. If you want to get that changed because it's not, this is also where you can come to log a ticket. So you can let them know, hey, my name is wrong in the system. You're going to need to fix that. That's where you can put in that info. But we want to log into CertView. So we're going to click here. It's going to ask us for the credential information. Or actually, I guess in this particular case, I already had just logged in before I started this video. So it logged me straight in. Obviously, you would have to put in your Oracle MyLearn credentials. It would then bring you to this point. Now I'm going to blur out a couple things on this, such as I've got my email and some like my testing ID number up in the top right. And as I walk through this, I'll blur out some key information related to me in particular, but just to give you a concept of some of the resources that exist on CertView, we can come over here to My Account. Clicking on that, we have the ability to view my profile. We can request a name change here as well. I can obviously merge accounts. If I have 2 Oracle accounts that I want to join together, I can do that here. Coming down from that, exam results. So if I want to take a look at my exam history, any instances where I flunked or then maybe passed, etc., I can see that whole listing. Down from that, we come to what I would consider the most important part, which is the credential management. So here's where I can come in and I can click Share Credentials. It shows me the fact that I have attained one of these new certifications, which is the AP Specialist. It shows that the certification is still active when I achieved it, and I have the ability to share this cert with other people. So if you want to provide and show the fact that you are certified, so let's say it's an accounting professional, etc., or maybe ERP consultant, you want to make that known to a potential employer, you can do it using a badge. Those are those little things you can add into your emails. You can print it, you can email it, download it, you can send it on social media. You got a lot of different options here. You also have the ability to publish the credentials on this page. You can view published credentials. You've got quite a bit of different options, all in relation to the exams you've either done or the certifications you have attained. So if you know you're going to be racking up those certifications, this is the place to go. So that's your detailed look at the new NetSuite certification system. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If so, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and if you want to take advantage of any of the things I've described in this video, namely my super training website where I have free resources, or I will be having, for the various certifications, downloadable practice exams, things like that. You can check out the links below for that. And I also have my prep courses. I currently have 3 prep courses already existing, and I will be coming out with new ones for all the new certifications, or at least the paid ones that have newly been released, coming in 2026. So if you're interested in any of that, check out the links below. And with all of that in mind, I hope to see you in the next video.